Yeah. Rolling. Down to
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming down tonight. You alright? Barry's doing some good videos for us, and I went through in deep end here, so I've got no questions prepared or anything like that.
No, we'll just wing it, can't we?
But yeah, I'm sure most of them are excited to know what you've been up to, sort of close season, and what to look forward to for season coming. So pass it over to you guys now. What you wondering?
Yeah, obviously from my side of it, we've got the Rocky rookies. So I've got 9 young kids, which my dad pretty much looks after at the race circuits. Yeah, it's like a starter level sort of kid from 14 event age upwards. Won the last 4 championships and made them progress every year. I'm still going. We finished 3rd last year on the Ducati. I'm staying with the same team. We've got a new bike coming in about a month's time, and hopefully we'll have another go at the championship.
Looking forward to getting hold of a new bike.
Yeah, obviously the Ducati's winning World Superbike, winning MotoGP. A lot of that technology is now coming down to the very bike. Yeah, it's only positive things that we're looking forward to. So I think everybody's jumping on the old Ducatis. I know Kyle, the local lads, jump on it, and obviously got Rene win and Scott Redding. So
looking forward to kicking start the season. Rookies looking good as well. There's Kyle's been in, met his dad Ben, so them guys are looking excellent this year. They're really well.
My dad does a lot of work with the young kids, and we've managed to get out to Spain at least once a month. And yeah, just a bit of tuition, trying to help them and guide them, and you enjoy doing that on the little bike stuff. So.
I know, yeah, quite good test days in Spain there. And, as I say, these young lads, the rookies, it's nice to go out and try and give them a bit of a pointed head start. So a bit of a laugh when the first went out. Some of them, they don't really know me because they're that young. So they know Leon more than me. And the laugh was Portimao, and they all went to Leon, talking to Leon and all that. And I was to the left out of the bit. And first time I went out on the bike, went out and it was a little bit damp. And I was like, so much faster than all the young was. Next, you couldn't believe, coming to the garage, it just changed. They all come to me then. I was like, wow. They didn't know me before that. So yeah, so it was like, wow. What are you doing in this corner? What are you doing in that corner? What gears you using and all that. So that was quite nice for me. As I say, I still like getting out on the bikes, especially the smaller bikes now. The bigger bikes, to be fair, I struggle a little bit. Now I'm getting a bit old. Leave that down for him, but yeah, really enjoy it. It's great and well. I like to see young lads coming on.
I think it's a really big progression for him.
Do you want to get everyone real closer so people at the back can hear? Come in as close as you want.
Right in.
Hard to hear.
So we can actually clap it down a bit. That's really,
Down there. Near a bit better.
Can you go down? Can you go down? Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been good. For me, it's been a bit of a long winter. Last time I rode a superbike, I threw it over the wall at Brands Hatch, so it's that was last October. We get to ride at Donington on the 3rd of April. It's the official test. So yeah, it'd be nice to get on a big bike again.
Changes again this season, one for him. I think different faces, different teams. And again, I think sport's been, and cycling from our point of view, being a sport, it's starting to grow again. I think the interest's coming back, people want to watch it. I think it'll get back to them stronger days it has. With sponsors moving on and things like that,
it's definitely got harder from a team running perspective and finances, but the crowds definitely in the last 2 years have been a lot big again, and the crowds have been sold out again. So from a riding perspective, it's amazing. From a running a team perspective, it's a nightmare. It costs 3 challenge as much, but it's nice to see the crowd backing, which I know for them that'll create the help and support for the kids.
Yeah, definitely. What's top tips then for youngsters who are watching?
Kylan, I think, is going to be good for the 400s with us.
Yeah.
I've just signed up little Carl Harris. I don't know if you know his dad. His dad used to race for us back in Team Great Britain days. And yeah, he lived at the farm for 5-6 years, and he actually passed at the TT. But he's now a son who's just turned 18. He's now riding for us again. So it's a really cool concept, and I think he'll do really well as well. So yeah, watch this space.
That's always interesting. Again, trying to figure out the this season, what favourite tracks were getting on? Where do you think you're going to be scoring?
Yeah, obviously Donington's my local race. I love Cadwell. I think Cadwell's a proper track. Last year we were at Alton Park. Rounds 1 and 2 is Alton Donington. So
You did say you were. You said.
What about your sort of favourite?
You said.
Well, Cadwell's a local favourite. Yeah. Cadwell's the main circuit, so Cadwell's a favourite, but Donington as well. Basically, most of been out of the school there. I think I'm the most background. And it's slightly like that place. Cadwell's 24 years.
I was sitting on traffic all day on night.
And good mate, you were quite quick race school. Did that go? Just like listen to the time, he crashed it. He says, no, he says, on the fastest lap of the day, he says, I missed apex at top of Coppers. So this guy come round and he sort of back, pointed and just said missed it and left me for dead. He says, and that were on my fastest lap. I think keep on.
Yeah, definitely. No, it used to be good. It used to be good. Because the bikes was completely standard. You know, they weren't no special tyre wise or whatever. So when you actually put somebody on the bike and show them what the bike can get up to, it really opened my eyes up, you know, like to, go, wow, a standard bike will do this, And again, it's round the track, which, you can sort of do a lot more with it, Yeah.
A lot more room to run right and stuff. Is there any other things you're up to this year that
my biggest thing is obviously not getting the Euro for this championship. The academy says it's going really, really well. We run a hospitality, that's kind of how Stacey got me here tonight. If you know Stacey, stand up.
Because people can't hear us at the back.
Is that better? Yeah, obviously Stacey runs my hospitality, which obviously feeds my team, which obviously helps bring people in, and obviously he's got me here tonight, so he's said about this little club. It's a pretty big club, look at how many people it's turned out.
seems to grow every week. It's, when sun's out, you just like all these people coming from the...
No, so yeah, no, we're on a bit of promotion for the hospitality. They can now look after general public, not just sponsors, so that's really good if you do come to the BSBs. I think we've offered a 20% discount on all the hospitality, so if you do want to come to a BSB and come in the hospitality, you have to see Lisa somewhere in the middle. But yeah, no, for me that's the main focus. We do a lot of training days with the rookies. On a race weekend, I kind of go into race mode and hand it over to my dad, so it's happy for me. So it's like I say, a long winter, but it's off very shortly.
Anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, Jim. What bike would you ride to go touring on? And where would you go?
Touring. I did a big tour of Australia when I was riding for BMW on the big GSs, and when I first looked at it I thought, no, this is going to be a nightmare, but actually it really surprised me on how good they was, both on-road and off-road. If I was going to have a bike myself, something like the Ducati Scrambler, something a little bit more non-sporty, just a bit more of a fun bike.
Yeah. Thank you.
What do you think of the point system, where you don't get equal points for each round?
I've only won one championship, and if I could have chose each year, I'd have been 4-time champion. So, depending on, I'll tell you at the end of the year which one I like.
Now, just going back to the actual, the young lads and that, half the lads now don't realise how hard it is to get there, from scratch. It's like, it's dead on. When he said he does the fitness test, he does a fitness test at the farm, and you can't believe how bad they are. You know, to start with, you know, it's like, come on, you know, you're in this sport, you know, put more into it. And once they come to the farm and they see what the fitness, you know, it puts them through, it makes them realise, you know, it's not just, you know, it's not just on the track. It's like you need all that fitness to make it happen. And it's good because when they see that, it does then kick them into gear basically. You know, just thinking that when you go to a meeting and race a bike, now you've got to be so dedicated through the week, training, everything else. And, as I say, I like to see it because it gets up there and they've all got, you know, the fitness schedule. It's like it's a routine to do, and it's over a certain time for certain stuff. You know, so it's overall time. And I can't believe it. They all straight away start the actual exercise that hard and that fast. You know they're not going to make the end. You know, like, you know, 'cause you've got to make the end, and you can see them halfway through, and oh, it's such a lap. You know, you can see them starting to go wide. You know, they don't want to give up. You know, so, you know, 'cause it's obvious that they're all in there. The next minute they start throwing up. You know, like it's that bad. You know, like, and then the next time they're better at it. They don't pace themselves on that. But what surprised me more than anything is, I shouldn't say, and I'm not trying to pull him up, but it's still like 3 or 4 minutes faster than every one of the young lads that we get on the exercises. Like, that's, you know, the level. I know, yes, they've just got to realise that they've got, it's not just at the
Kind of
farm.
showing them, isn't it? It's like not an inch for training, it's what you know to do, because you can have talent, you can, you know, be fast around the circuit, but everything else scrutinised, you know, how you talk, media training, you know, teams put you in fitness tests, and it's getting more and more like Formula One, which I hate, but at the same time, you've got to teach the young kids that, you know, if you want it, you've got to put in the effort elsewhere. It's, you know, that natural talent now doesn't quite get you there.
And that's what I see, especially compared to my day. You know, like my day, yes, I used to train because that's all I wanted. You know, I really wanted to bike that rate, and I used to train, you know, a couple of times a day, morning, night time, you know, just, you know, for an hour or two. You know, and I used to do that all on my own, where I couldn't see any of these young lads doing that these days. But now that they've come to Leon and see what, you know, he's approachable and similar to what I was doing. And he took the same attitude to the young lads. The young lads are just like, wow, I didn't realise it would be this much intense, you know, to get in there. So that was, you know, it's nice to see the young lads pushing into it. But as I say, that's the hard bit. It sounds bad. The young lads today, they look at the television, they look at the Rosses or whoever it is, Marquez and all that. They think that they just do it on the day. They don't, you know, like, they put that much effort in through the week and everything to get that level, you know, and it sort of just opens the eyes really, and you know, I sort of see that, you know, a lot when you bring the young lads in, which is great really.
It takes a lot of the excuses away.
It does, it takes a lot of excuses away from that, yeah. And once they do the training, they've all got their own target then, you know, like, they go through it at this level and this time, and then we say, don't worry about anybody else, that's your target. Next time you come, try and beat it.
Yeah, they're all coming at different levels. You know, we have 13-year-old kids and we have 20-year-olds, and they're not all going to be at, you know, the same level as me that's been doing it for 30 years. But it's about coming back, improving themselves, and you know, even like say all the track stuff, all the people we have there. You know, my dad with them walking around the circuit. You know, doing lessons on how data works now. Because you know, back in the day there was no computers. Now it's 8% computers and set up, and just kind of educate them a little bit in that respect as well.
Yeah. The other one, thing side that I really enjoy is the actual flexibility of the young lads. They haven't got any. You know, like, it's crazy, you know, and I suppose I really enjoy it because, you know, they start doing the exercises, and one is you put your back to the wall and then you get your leg and you pick the leg, so how you can go with the leg, see how flexible you are on that, and you can't believe it how bad they are. It's like, you know,
basically my dad can still beat them all. That's
beat them all, and I enjoy that bit. You know, like, come on, you know, come on lads, get a bit more flexibility into you, because if you get that, the biggest thing, if you're flexible, you can get on a bike and it fits you. Well, actually, you fit the bike. You know, where when you're not so flexible, you start changing lots of stuff. You know, so yeah, so I do enjoy that bit. Yeah.
Any more questions?
How do you choose who you take on as a group?
In all honesty, I first set this up 6 years ago, and I thought it'd be easy to find riders. You know, young kids wanting to come into a racing championship where everything's there for you, and it's been hard. You know, we've took probably more foreigners and Australians that want to come and move over and do it than actually finding young British riders. A lot of my British riders are now coming from Bemsey or the O'Varley Championships, but it's difficult, and a lot of it isn't down to there isn't the riders, because there is, but it's just so expensive. So a young kid who's 13, 14, they're needing to find 30 to 40,000 to compete in a year with tyres, crash damage, travel. So a normal family, the kid could be the next Rossi, and the problem is if they then go and win, they're not allowed to stay in that championship, and then they've got to find double that to move up. And that's kind of why I set this academy up. If you win for me, you get a free ride the year after. You should get rewarded for what you're doing. And yeah, it is hard to find it initially, and as it's grown, and the reason why we run the hospitality is because if we was just a van and doing that, but we offer the hospitality, we say, look after the guests, here's a media team, and all the things that as a rider I don't really care much about, hospitality and media training and all that, but if I offer that as a platform to them, it then helps them to progress, to move on. It's not about me having it, it's about them being able to use it to attract sponsors. So that's mainly why we do it. It also creates a bigger platform for me to help get sponsors in to try and obviously fund it all as well.
Basically, my day, it won't like that. If you could ride a bike and be up the front, then folks would help you. The small sponsors, anybody, if they seen you was trying as hard as you did and you're starting to do well, you actually got help. These days it's not enough. It's like the expense-wise and all that. You could be, as I said, the next Rossi. You still won't get there unless you put some money behind it.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Imagine that I can't afford it, but that's all really, really good.
Yeah.
No.
And we see it all the time as well, so it is difficult. And again, if we do have a platform and we do see some talent, then obviously we can throw them to the sponsors and people do help them. But the entry level is difficult. We're looking something for the future to have like a one-main championship, so it's half that price again. So it's a Red Bull Rookies where you turn up and pick a bike for the weekend and everyone's on the same. That's kind of the only way I think that you can limit the cost. As soon as you then rather in other teams and other people, and the championship dictates that you have to buy this tyre off this person, and the costs just go up because everybody wants to make money out of it.
Can I say something? On bike design, don't you think it would be good to start moving away from the single shock rear, because it means the seat's so high and your centre of gravity is too high, and it could easily be put back to twin shocks, lower down, get your body down, and wouldn't that improve the bikes?
With the technology now, with the linkages, the rear ride height's not a massive thing. We can make our bike lower if we want to. We're fully adjustable and we can design our own links and everything else.
But that used to be, that came from Scrambling Wheel, didn't it? Right back to Dave Smith, didn't it? BSA.
Yeah. No, I think my dad was a part of the development where Honda thought that you couldn't get the centre of gravity low enough.
Yeah.
So they designed a bike where the fuel tank and
The fuel tank was underneath.
and then they realised they can't make it too low, and it doesn't stop and it locks the front.
I say Honda went through that period where they thought exactly that, getting the centre of gravity as low as possible. Make the fuel tank underneath, it was a two-stroke, also the two-stroke. Put the tank underneath, the exhaust on the top, made everything really low. It handled beautiful, but it didn't perform. It just spun the wheel too much, a bit like a speedway bike. Because it got the centre of gravity that low, it spun the wheel, it didn't stop, it didn't lift the back wheel at all, but it just didn't stop, it locked the front wheel.
Yeah.
So then they realised, it's not quite the right way of going at it. And I got scrapped I think halfway through the season, basically.
Was that up-centre steering?
No, that was the Elf, that was. This was when I was with HRC and I'd call it the normal bike. The Elf was a different thing altogether with the up-centre steering and all that. Which that was, again, the first one on that was a nightmare. Elf as a company was massive. We always think Elf was probably oil. That was the smallest part of the Elf company. That was. So I went around all the offices and that. Paris was joined them and all that. And like the biggest one was hairpins and stuff like that for elves, which was like weird, you know. And at the time, they told me it was the fifth biggest company in the world. You know, that was like where you applied, isn't it? I thought, wow, this is when I was, you know, just going to sign up for. And so they gave me a full tour and all that. And all they wanted from elves was a bike that was futuristic. They don't want a conventional, they want a futuristic bike, hence where the front wheel steering and all that stuff. They wouldn't have a standard bike out of it. But the only thing that got wrong was the weight, because when you're racing something, power weight is everything. You know, so whether you've got power or whether you've got weight advantage, it's the same advantage. You know, and the Elf was always too heavy. You know, so no matter how much power you tried to put into it, with the 500 it wasn't enough, you know, for the track. So that really, the idea was fantastic. You know, the weight was too. They tried everything to do it and all. They put magnesium front ends on it, which is super light. Which that one snapped off in the middle of the straight line. You know, that caused a big crash. Then they made a carbon fibre swinging on. When carbon fibre was in the early stages, you know, like so they made a full carbon side swinging arm, lighter than the alloy one. Went on track with it. It was like an inch. It was 3 times stronger than the alloy, but it flexed that much. You come back with steering out of it. It worked. So then that project on the that cost a fortune, and we were 12. And they kept sending it back, you know, making it stronger, the carbon, you know, stiffening it up. They finally got it as good as the alloy one. The weight was heavier. So it was a bit pointless. So they did try hard on that side. The first one they ever went for it, which, you know, I thought, what have I done? So it was a joint venue with HRC Honda and Elf. When I signed up, so I was
what your dad has done.
At the time, and they wanted me to do the development with it. And so I said, yeah, no problem. And they said, we'll give you a factory bike to run alongside of it as a comparison. So okay. And the first one I got on, oh, it was crazy. Instead of handlebars, it had got 2 levers on the front. It weighed the front wheel like a tank that way. Oh Christ! I thought, what have I done here? You know, like, you know, putting myself up there. First time, as soon as you laid it in and got a bit of a wobble, your hands couldn't stop moving backwards and forwards. I come in and went, it's impossible. You know, you can't run that. You know, so that's hence they changed the design again into like a bit more conventional. So yeah, that project was really good for me. But again, my career was quite high. I was sort of getting Robrts in MotoGP and stuff like that. They selected the standard one in the GPs until the Elf got up to speed. Well, obviously we don't really need speed. After the 3rd Grand Prix, I'd gone, I think I said Boston 2 or 3 times. I was 2nd in the world, best I've ever done, like, you know, 3rd meeting in. And then Elf put me down and no, we need our bike at the race. You know, we provided it, so we need to put you on the, you know, the proper Elf. I think I finished that up when you last. You know, usually just one of the standard though. That was a big disappointment on my part. But the effort they put in was massive. You know, it was crazy. Just like you're talking about money, and you talk about companies like that. And I can always remember Serge Rossi was the runner of the team at the time. And he was with us at the Elf, and they get him a budget of God knows how many million it was, you know, for this project. And Sage said, well, what happens if we run out halfway through the season, the budget? And eBay was the bloke that was dealing with the Elf side of it. He said, oh, no problem. He said, if you run out, we'll just double it. And they were like, wow. You know, like, you know, just a different world it was. You know, so yeah, so big sponsors like that, it's just, you know, it was quite ridiculous. You know. Good old days. Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, as I say, you know, it's the good old days where if you could ride well, you got a chance. You got a chance. And these days it's so hard. You can ride well. If you can't provide a bit of money at the beginning, it's so hard. You know, hence where Leon comes in now. He tries to do it where you can have a full season as a young rider, and it will actually cost you less than if you were going to do it for your dad. You know, like it will cost you less at that point because we've got sponsors coming in and we get some money into it. We can actually chuck it out there. You know, we sort of normal riding will cost you X for a year. You have to do it yourself, cutting all the costs. We sort of do it a lot more professional at that, and we're probably a little bit under that. So it's, to get it right. So it's nice that we're trying to get young lads, as it says, English lads back in there. Sort of English lads, as he just says.
What your dad has done.
Part of my career because he didn't want me to do it for him.
Right.
And that one little story was, I think I broke my leg for a second time and I broke my femur. And my dad was obviously feeling guilty. I was only 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
He told my mum to tell me that we can't go racing anymore, we can't afford it, let's stop. And I kicked off basically saying I'll do it on my own then. And ever since then I think he realised with a broken femur in hospital that I kind of did want it for myself.
Can't fault you.
And ever since, he's been at every race and it's been a massive support.
Yeah. Would you ever think of doing a school same as your dad had?
Yeah, we looked into it. The biggest thing that I'm trying to do now is not only the racing side of it for the rookies, but one of the best things that we did at the race school actually wasn't on track. It was a thing called Learn to Ride.
Yeah.
You didn't need a license, you didn't need leathers, a bike or anything, and you could get new people on a bike, all that suspense. And we did simple skills, in and out of cones, body position, stoppies, and that's what I'm trying to sort out now. So utilising the rookies' bikes, the little 400s, do something, even if it's at Donington on MSV days in the paddock area. For me, that's what motorbiking is missing, is new people getting on bikes.
Yeah, I did a few sessions and I did a 6 lap on the back of your dad. Wow. He was shouting his head up because he couldn't get the front wheel up on the straight. He was annoyed with himself and I'm thinking, go on lad, just do it. It was amazing.
How much did it cost, Leon? Was that a superbike?
No, Donington.
The season?
I ran it myself for 2 years, and it all depends what infrastructure you've got.
Not at Donington.
If you're starting from scratch, you can't do it for much less than
right up there, aren't you?
I am, because obviously I'm a passenger.
MGs and your FHOs are doing it to 2
Where he is,
That's kind of the range.
Yeah, but he's still high
They're
there.
building the bikes,
These suspension to make everything.
looking at
yeah,
10
but
to
when he
15
goes to a
staff,
corner, he will
tyres
slide
for the
down the
year
bike as
60K.
opposed to the bike going
Yeah,
down.
there's now compensated
For a
with the
super
body.
bike,
The
yeah.
frame hasn't compensated.
No.
With the obviously,
Can you tell us if you think... Sorry.
Sorry, again, mate.
With the field changing a bit this year, do you see your biggest competition? I know Kyle obviously is up there. But
Got no competition, you've got to win.
Yeah, for me, my mentality again has kind of come from my dad. Is that I want everyone on the same bike as me, and then if they beat me, then it's them that's beat me. And a lot have gone to Ducati, which I'm on. So from my perspective, I'm quite happy about it. We finished 3rd last year, and there was 2 Yamahas in front of me. So Brad's staying on the Yamaha, but if everyone's moving to Ducati, then perfect. That's on me.
Sorry, I'm going to sit down here.
Me, not at the Isle of Man, no. It's something I've never really got into, and I think at the stage I'm at now, I'm 42, and my dad's kept me away for all these years. But yeah, obviously my dad's won the Isle of Man, and obviously was a part of that. And I think they're very two different mentalities now. Circuit racing and that, I think it's a different mindset. Making mates with Hickey and Hutchie and all the boys, and the passion they've got for it is phenomenal. But it's something that's I've always been the opposite. It's always been circuit racing, and I'm still crashing too much. So.
How many more years do you think you've got there on? I know.
Quickest? No, he's quicker than me now. I'll admit that one.
How many more years do you think you've got there on?
I don't know, mate. Honestly, when I come back from World Championship in 21, I was teammates with Alvaro Bautista, and I beat him that year in the championship. He then moved to Ducati and become world champion, and I come back to BSB with Liardi, and I was rolling around in 10th with Tom Sykes, and that year, nearly only year that I've actually thought, I'm not enjoying this, and that's kind of what made me set my own team up, and I then got the passion back and the fun back of it. I'll ride bikes for the next 50 years because I love riding bikes. It's not the passion or the want, it's the politics and what it costs, being wanted. And luckily, with Wolf, who I'm riding for now, he approached me and he wanted me to ride a Ducati to win a championship. So amazing. As long as I'm getting them offers, I'll carry on riding.
Many more years.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the development side?
I first off, when I went to the Elms, that was the first side of the development side of it. I enjoyed it because I thought I'd got the most opportunities. I've got like, you know, a factory bike, you know, to try and actually win the championship. That was my goal still, you know, to win the championship. That disappointed me because then they made me use the Elf. But then I got into the development of the Elf, and that started getting enjoyable then. You know, like, 'cause the Elf was, the way it was built, you could go in places where a standard bike can't go in geometry of the bike, you know, the trails, the angles and all that. You could do it within, like, coming to the pits 5 minutes, and you could put the bike where a standard bike could never go. And it was quite interesting to go from one extreme to the other. So instead of keeping it in what I call the window of a standard bike, go completely out the window and see, you know, feel what it does. You know, that was interesting. You know, so they made a lot of knowledge come to me quick. Talk about trail of a bike, which is, you know, a geometry of a front end, and to go completely out the window to where any other bike was, getting your idea what it actually did, where the advantages were, where the disadvantages were, and all that. So it put a lot of knowledge to me, the Elf did, on what things do on a bike, basically.
Are you surprised that they've not gone more that route? You know that like the Melstone thing, they could at any setup they wanted kind of thing.
They can, yeah.
And this seems to have just gone all pretty much the same, haven't they, really?
It's dead hard because the conventional bike as a front fork is so hard to beat. You know, it's like, it's so simple. You know, no linkage on the front end. It's just two damper rods, you know, two forks, and that's it. And they've tried to beat it a lot of times, but they always come back from the weight and the performance. It just can't, you know, they just can't seem to beat it. It's the same as your development and everything, tyres and all that, your development in tyres and stuff. Some of the tyres I've tried, Michelin and stuff like that, it's like, it should work, but it doesn't. You know, like, I tried one with Michelin once when I was on the factory, and they got away with the sidewall of the tyre, you know, and they made it just a profile, straight, you know, complete profile round on it. And it sounded, well, if you got your suspension right, it shouldn't need the sidewall. And it just couldn't happen. It just didn't work. It chattered. It wouldn't go wide. It didn't, you know, it didn't grip. So putting a sidewall on the tyre is such an important thing. And now it's laid and all that stuff. So the development in the tyre side, they still can't beat the sidewall. You know, where, you know, they've tried it because they did it for lightness. They thought they'll get a really light tyre, you know, with a profile. Same with the bike. It's, you know, it's so hard to beat the conventional bike at the moment. You know, I know they've gone to Pro Links and stuff like that, which that seems to be, you know, where it is now. They can develop with different types of links. They can make the link do anything it wants to its range. So the scope of that is you can't beat it. The front fork, it's a simple idea, you can't beat it. So, you know, it's, as I say, many people have tried. You know, they've even tried going to air forks and all that, and some still use air forks, you know, but you'll find all the top still use normal conventional springs, you know, they keep them on better.
Who have you rated most of your career, Rob?
Rated?
Yeah, who do you like look up to or really enjoyed riding with?
One that I admired, you probably don't know him, and it's when I was thinking that in my younger days, obviously, on the Yamaras and stuff, and you get to the point where, you know, you're Barashim with the top one for England for us, you know, and I'll get to the point where I thought I could beat anybody, you know, like, you know, outride anybody and all that point, you know, so I thought, you know, whether it was Sheen, it sort of didn't go into my head that, oh God, look at him as God. I got in my head that I could beat anybody. And match races at Mallory Park, and a lad come over, Steve Baker, I don't know if you remember him.
American.
He come over on a Yamaha, and you know, didn't look like a racer when you looked at him, not being rude. You know, didn't look that way. You know, you thought you were a school teacher or something. You know, like, and God, country rider by. I got behind him at Mallory Park and followed him, and ran Devil's Elbow. You all probably know. He went round there, and I don't think the front wheel hardly touching the floor. I was behind him, and at this point, I was like believing I was, you know, I could beat anybody, and that was a point where I went, God, I'd like to get as good as that. You know, like, so it sort of, you know, opened my eyes upon that side of it. And it was the same meeting, well not the same meeting, but similar meeting, but at Mallory Park again, with Barry Sheep. At this point, we just got Barry Sheep London, you know, like from you, like, you know, like you sort of, you know, different league, you know, like and posh type stuff. And I didn't really know him to talk too much. And we're at Mallory Park, and I was after practice. He come to me. He says, look, my lad. He says, a bit of advice. He says, slow down a bit, and you'll go quicker. So at that point, I was crashing on. You know, like pretty much every meeting. You know, like,
He said that's clever advice.
He said, you'll find that you'll start to go quicker. I took that straight away. I went, he's frightened of me. You know, like that was my head. You know, like he's frightened of me. You know, like, and. What a true word he didn't half say. It was a true word, because that meeting, I think second race coming out of the apron, I'm about this high up in the air. It's ripped my boot off and broke a collarbone. You know, like I thought, and I did get to find out. I did slow down a bit and went past, and I thought, what a bloke, the top level, come to me with true advice. But say at the time, I didn't believe. I just took it as frightened of me. You know, like so. Yeah, so it was good. You know, good days. Even somebody like that to come to you. You know, as a lad that I got Mark Carter as a sponsor, but that was it. To get advice. It was good.
Would you get something like that now? Like, would somebody come and say something like that to you now?
I was lucky, I got into GPs at the age of 16, and I remember I went from a 125 to a 500 V4 two-stroke, and on the Hondas that year was Rossi, Caparossi, Alex Barros, and I got to see their data, and I was crashing twice a weekend. I was just literally bending in bits one night, and they all come to me and tried to help, and that was at the highest level, so that was nice. Obviously I was no threat to them, so it was like, try and help them and stuff. And I've always said this story about my dad. There's a lot of people that would steer you wrong and say the wrong things, and it's a bit of racing in it, try and wind them up. But the one thing that, especially with my dad, is I've had opposition knocking on the door of the motorhome asking for help from my dad, and then he would give it because, again, it's back to the story. If they've got the same bike as you and everything else, it's up to you. So it's like, it's that same mentality to try and help them and progress everyone.
Exactly the same for the Low twins. Obviously we had a big thing with the Low twins on the 125s and that, and I helped them out as much as I could. And I helped them out as much as Leon, and basically the same what I just said. I said, well, if you can't beat them on the same tackle, it's a bit pointless. So yeah, even though I probably didn't like that, but it did work out well.
What's your view on Philly Parlin being scrubbed off on GP?
That's my favourite circuit, that one. I know. It's I got my first ever World Championship win there, so I've got a lot of good memories, and it's one of the tracks. If you ask any rider, it's the best track. There's no stop, chicanes or anything like that. It's turns 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all fourth and fifth gear. It's like that's a proper track.
Yeah.
I get it from a MotoGP perspective and the speed they're going. Yeah, the organisation's never liked it because it does cause a lot of safety issues. But from my perspective, yeah, it is, but it'll be under slower speeds, and they don't want bikes going around fifth gear corners at 200 miles an hour. That's the problem. That street circuit, you'll probably be averaging 100 miles an hour. Exactly. But they lowered the CC a few years ago to 800, and they ended up going faster around the corners. So it's like it's all relative.
Do you think now, though, off the circuit now, the bike without road circuit?
Yeah, there's 100% going to be a big change in BSB. Yes, they spent something like 3 million last year on extra gravel traps and moving barriers, but there's only so much Oldham Cadwells can do, with the landscape and stuff. And I always use this as an example. 2005, I was on an Airwave Ducati 999. It had 175 horsepower, and I was doing 125s. That was 2005. 21 years later, we have 250 horsepower, with better tyres, with everything else, we're doing 125s. You only can go so fast around a small, tight circuit. So it's all I think they'll cap it at 200. They're talking about bringing Superbike back to 800s or something like that. And, for me, Superbike should be based on what you guys can buy from the road.
I think there's that from the cost point as well, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to make it easy for folks downtown and run a bike.
Yeah, the BSB bike now is actually slower around 3 or 4 tracks than the stock class.
I'll eat them real that. I remember that.
Yeah, it went faster on the stock. Yeah, around the track where you flat out as well.
Now on that side of it and all, it's when you look at the data, you know, coming and that, and look at the throttle, the actual throttle in your hand, or sorry, the bike throttle. It's very rare that it goes full anywhere, because you're talking 225 brake horse. There's not many places where you can hold the throttle over.
So Alton Park's a 1:36 lap.
I know it's a bit silly talking
and I'm full throttle for 5 seconds.
That was a lot less than the Hondas were giving.
Yeah, literally, if you count all the times it goes full,
yeah, that's
5
in a full
seconds
lap.
out.
Because you've been flat out anyway, but your skill shows.
And one of the things when they were riding for BMW when they first come back into World Superbike, and we was at one of the tracks, and they got they're all car people. So the BMW when they first come back to the World Superbike, it was all car, car orientated. So all they were after was horsepower. They tuned the engine into horsepower and that, no bottom end and all that stuff. But they got a big horsepower figure. And we were at one of the tracks, and it pretty much unrideable. Yeah, powerful, but you couldn't ride it. And he finished up telling them to knock, it was 35 brake horse off it. Just take it away. Don't, I don't want it.
On one of the smaller tracks, we made them turn 2 cylinders off.
Yeah.
And I went faster.
They went faster
Because it was a rideable
They
bike.
went faster.
Hence why BSB with no electronics, why the Yamaha stuff went. It's a good handling bike.
Do you prefer electronics or no electronics?
I don't like electronics. I'm very old school on that. But when everything is going electronics and the standard bike has electronics, racing should be about developing a bike for the road. So when my BSB bike is actually less developed than the bike you can buy, it kind of defeats the objective.
As I say, at Thruxton, where they have circuit, the production was faster than the Superbike. First 3, because they can use all the electronics and everything with it.
Because you had to stand these
Yeah, we're not allowed traction control or anything really with Superbikes, but we've got 50 more horsepower than a standard bike. And then you turn all that off. So you go somewhere like Thruxton, and my full throttle, it never went past 60% in electronics. I had it before, but it wouldn't give me more than 60%, it just kept spinning.
Who you're betting for MotoGP now this year?
Marquez is your man.
World Series.
Bootlegger, I think, will easily win it. I train every day with Sam and Alex Lowe's, and Sam should be second. I'm rooting for Sam, and I think Alex will have podiums this year, but I'm not quite sure the promoters are quite up to spec to deal with it. So, but yeah, I'm rooting for the Lowe's boys on that.
What are you thinking we top rack this year? How do you think that's going to pan out?
He's going to finish where he finished at the last round. It's irrelevant how good of a rider you are when you get to MotoGP. It's what bike you've got under you and what electronics car you've got next to you, and that shows that. Put him on a Ducati with Marquez, and I think he won't be outside the top 3. At the minute, the Yamaha, it's not a coincidence that Alex Rins a world champion, Quattararo world champion, Toprak and Miller have 13, 14, 15, 16. All different people, all different world champions, and they're all in the same place.
Let's face it, what Toprak did on that BMW, nobody else could do on a BMW, could they?
He made the difference. He was a good second lap. Van der Mark's a good friend of mine, and he's a top 5 level rider in the world, and he made him look silly. He was very, very special.
What do you think, when Rossi went to the V4 Ducatis, and he just couldn't do anything with them, could he? And yet, the Australian, he's their development chap, isn't he? And he retired early, I reckon. He was the best rider ever, I reckon.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Casey Stoner. Yeah, he
Casey
retired
Stoner,
at 28.
yeah. He said the bike, there was nothing, he found nothing wrong with it. Rossi was criticising it and saying...
Yeah, it was a turning point of that Ducati. When Rossi went there, he'd just done how many world championships with Yamaha and Honda, which is fundamentally a Japanese style bike.
Yeah.
And then going to a Ducati, which Casey had his bit of crashing on. Yes, he got it to a winning standard, but it was a process. To throw Rossi on that on a 1 year thing at the point where the Ducati wasn't the best, for me, I think that was, and also then he got injured. So, you know, for me, it's put him on a Ducati now, it might be a bit different.
Have you got any credit for bringing top stars through that are there now? Can you name some?
Yeah, well, my dad's side of it, we had quite a lot, didn't we? Team Great Britain days. You know, obviously your James Hayes and all them people that come through. Sam and Alex Lowe started with us. They're now both in world level. My first champion is now just got a ride in British Superbike. So the kid who signed for me when he was 15. 5 years ago has now just made it Superbike.
Oh, that's exciting, yeah.
We've got them all to make podiums in British Super Sport level. And 3, Chloe Jones finished 3rd in the world, the Women's World Championship. She rode for me 2 years ago. So yeah, there's a few that's made it to Worlds, there's a few that now has made it to Superbike, and we've only been running it for 5 years, so yeah, it's been good.
Do you get many women coming through your courses? Your race courses?
With my academy, I've had a female rider pretty much every year. This is the first year we've not got one. We had an Italian girl, Chloe Jones, Charlotte Marcuzzo. So yeah, over the years, and they've all been top 5s in British level. Chloe's obviously moved on to world level, so you know, finished 3rd in the world as a young English woman. She did very well.
Are there any benefits riding a trials bike that you can take to ESB?
I got into trials with my dad, what was it, probably 20 years ago now. Because I'm a British motocross champion, I'm a supermoto, all the bikes, you know, we pride ourselves that we can ride anything. And I got on a trials bike and I was that shit. I had to go and buy one, so ever since I was that bad, we did it pretty much every day for like 10 years. So, yeah, and that's why I get my rookies to do it now, because the discipline of trials, it's everything. It's feel, it's brakes, it's clutch, it's balance, and also you can do it anywhere. Yeah, we spent the first 3 months on the yard just trying to go over a brick, you know. It was as simple as that. So for me, I like trials because it's good fitness, it's being on a bike. You're not risking yourself motocrossing, and the cost is nothing. You know, we've had our bikes nearly 10 years, and I don't think I've ever changed anything on it. It's just start it up and go. So I do. You won't. No, it is. Yeah, I like it.
It's a good laugh, I know, to see the rookies on them. You know, because they haven't been on them before, and you get them on the farm, and you know, wet, sludgy bank and all that. Oh God, it's such a laugh. If you filmed it, you'd get a lot of money for it. You know, you just, you know, they try that hard, but you know, because they've never done it before. We know how hard it really is. You know,
and a lot of it's just about riding bikes and having fun. So it's getting harder and harder to do that. You know, supermoto, pit biking, motocross.
It's like say cheaper.
Yeah.
I've watched showing his dad down at
Oh God, yeah.
That would not be crazy, you know what I mean?
It will, yeah.
It's always competitive.
I think that's the whole game of it. Whatever we did, wanted between us or whatever, it was just, who can run the fastest, who can jump the farthest, whatever, it didn't matter, you know, it all could become a competition, you know, which made it more fun.
Good. Is that it? I'm roasted under this light. It's been good. It's been good. And like I say, if any of you guys do want to come to a race, see these guys. They've been happy enough to get me here, so go see Lisa or whatever and cheer on these youngsters. And,
Back again to give you a nice big trophy on
that's the plan, mate. I'm see if I can win something again this year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.